Hello and welcome back to video number 16 when it comes to the pivot table series. So I would actually want to show you how we can actually use one timeline so that we can actually run these two reports. Remember, we also saw in the slicers how we can actually be having multiple slicers so that each slicer can actually run a report, and how we were actually using one slicer tool so that it can actually command the multiple reports that we had. So that also applies to the timeline. We can just have one timeline and use that timeline to command the multiple reports. In my case, I have two reports. So I want us to get one timeline and command the two reports using that one timeline. So before we actually do continue, subscribe to my YouTube channel and also follow me on my X account so that we can actually build one of the largest data analytics platforms together. So we had actually used these two timelines in the previous video. So allow me to actually remove them. So to remove a timeline, you click on it like that, hit delete on the keyboard, you select it like that, then you actually hit delete on the keyboard just like that, and it actually disappears. So in this point, I had already told you how we can actually give names to the pivot table reports. So this one here, I want us to call it category, and this one here, I want us to call it products, because this is where we have the products and this is where we have the category. So you click on the first report there because you would actually want to call it category. So you click inside the report, pivot table analyze tab. On this point here, you click on the pivot table there, then you double click on that name, then you will have category, just like that, hit enter on the keyboard. And on this point too, click inside the report, pivot table analyze tab. On this part, pivot table, then you double click on that name there, then you have products or product, just like that, hit enter on the keyboard. So we'll actually come to this point, any report. So go into any report there, then get yourself into the pivot table analyze tab. Then you have filter group, click on insert timeline like that, then select the dates, because we actually said that timelines is actually used to filter the dates. So obviously you will have the dates there. But when we were actually inside the slicer, you actually realized that we were not having the dates. So we were actually having the product, the category, the amount, the country. That's inside the slicers. But for the timelines, it's actually the dates only. So hit on OK there, and you will actually get this kind of a timeline. So after getting this kind of a timeline, you have to click inside the timeline. Before clicking inside the timeline, you actually realize that the last tab there is actually the power pivot tab. But if I click inside the timeline, you will actually realize that the last tab is actually timeline. So a timeline tab has been introduced. Yes. So down there inside the timeline group, you have what you call report connections. Click on report connections like that, and you can actually check that this timeline actually runs one pivot table report, which is actually the category. Remember, we had actually clicked inside this report so that we can go and add a timeline. So basically, it will be running the same report that we had actually used to introduce a timeline. So if you would actually want to use the same timeline to run this second report, then you have to click on product. You have to select it like that, then hit on OK. Everything is now OK. So the moment I click on 2023, see what happens on this report here, and also see what happens here. Be careful. So 2023, now you can actually see things are actually changing. 2024, that's it. You can actually check that there are some adjustments. So get yourself to the quarters again. So click on quarter 4 of 2024. Quarter 4, you can actually check that both of the reports are actually responding. So that's it. So before we actually continue on the timelines, allow me to actually bring you to this point here. So in this case here, you will actually realize that I have many courses on Microsoft Excel, and these courses will actually guarantee you mastery in Microsoft Excel and data analytics. Just imagine that. And you will actually access all these courses on my Google Drive account at just $100. When my website is actually back, this deal will actually be going at $945. So I'm actually getting you at $100. That is, the first 25 persons will actually get it at $100. So kindly grab the deal. And when the website is actually back, you won't actually lose your access to the courses. Your access will actually be shifted to the website. Remember, this is one-time payment and lifetime access. So that's all. And for the projects, you can also get for me the projects Let's say, for example, if your work is actually running on a monthly basis, you have to book this monthly retainer, that is monthly subscription, and it actually goes at $550 a month. So this work actually includes cloud in Excel, dashboards and charts, automation, pivot tables and models, Power BI, financial forecast, templates management. Just imagine that. In this case too, you can book for the one-time task. AI powered dashboard designs $150, AI data analysis and insights $200, AI automation and smart macros $250, AI enhanced Power BI reports $300. So the prices are fairly good, and I will be glad to help you solve your problems. On this case too, you can actually book for the templates, so I can actually design for you the template, manage it for you, and do the delivery. That is a monthly retainer. So for a monthly retainer, I'll actually be doing your work at $50 every month, $50 only. And for the one-time task, the ultimate business dashboard templates, templates on personal finance, templates on inventories, templates on AI powered reporting, templates on HR and payroll, templates on sales performance. I'll actually be doing all these kinds of templates at these fair prices: $22, $19, $15, $19, $12, and $17. So for us to actually communicate, use this email here so that you can actually talk business. So in this point here, I will actually be showing you how we can do some customizations on the timeline. Let's say, for example, if you want to have some customizations, you click on it like that. You click on the timeline so that you can get the timeline tab. And you can actually check that we do have many timeline cells. So you can click on this one like that. You can also click on the second one. You can click on this last one here. You can actually check that it's responding here. You can also go to this point here and add and remove the timeline level. Timeline level, this one here, this is actually the timeline level, the quarters, the months, the year. You can actually deselect and you can actually check that it's disappearing. But it's actually very good to have it so that it will help you in filtering. You can also deselect the scroll bar. Now you can actually check that it has disappeared. And for the header, this is actually the header. That's actually the date. So if you deselect the header, this date will actually disappear. So deselect and it actually disappears. So select again to actually bring it back. So that's all about the timelines, and thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.